everybody, and thank you for coming by and listening to the Opening Tee podcast. I hope you're having a great day, and of course, since I put this out on Sunday night, you could be listening to this in the morning, the evening, or afternoon, so hope you're all having a good one, and thanks for coming by. I am your host for this short-form podcast, the first in the Awesemo Golf weekly podcast series. Jason Rouslin. Find me on Twitter at DFS Golfer23, and of course, if you're an Awesemo Plus member and want to get in contact with me, good way to do that is through the Slack channel, through the DM in the Slack channel, or of course on Twitter. So if this is your first time joining the short form podcast, thank you for giving me a listen. And what I do quickly is I go over the Awesemo facts from the previous week. If you missed the golf contest or didn't maybe watch golf around the world, I give you a quick little tidbit there. And then I go into some of the fun stuff from the previous week, like You're Not Your Average Cut Sweat segment. And then I go into a statistical review, trying to find some golfers that are playing well in certain specific strokes gained categories. And then I measure them up against some of the old age statistics to see how the golfers are gaining their strokes. Then I go over quickly about the field. And this week might be a little easier and a little bit quicker than most, as we only have 70 golfers in the field this week. I'll go over those 70 with you, or at least some of the players that you may not know that have gotten in or gotten in at the last minute here. So without further ado, let us head into the Awesemo facts from last week. And of course, our show is sponsored by SuperDraft. And if you haven't tried out SuperDraft, it is a great way to differentiate your PGA DFS lineups. So let me tell you a little bit about their multiplier mode. The future of daily fantasy sports has arrived. Experience SuperDraft's exclusive game mode multiplier. Say goodbye to salary restrictions and hello to lineup freedom. Use your fantasy sports knowledge to draft any player you want and build your very own dream team. This week my very own dream team would not have done very good, but still, countless lineup possibilities let you experience daily fantasy sports the way you want to. SuperDraft offering contests right now for PGA, NASCAR, MLB, NBA, and MMA, so you can enjoy the best of DFS all year round. Sign up for SuperDraft using promo code Awesemo10. You get $10 free on your first deposit of 10 or more, or $20 total free on your first deposit of 100 or more. Also, look for the app in the App Store or play at superdraft.io. SuperDraft, no limits and more winning. Okay, so my highs and lows and foursome fact from the week. First off, the crazy winds out in Wales and the UK for the European Tour. Sorry, had to get that out. Romain Langasque came out of nowhere on Sunday to win by 2 out of a score of -8. Some really high scores there, though, with the high winds going on. The second one, well, it probably should have been the first one, but TPC Boston, I mean, how easy could this golf course play? Dustin Johnson shot 30 under par. Unbelievable. Some of the best golf we have seen in an incredibly long time. Now, granted, the course was easy. Dustin Johnson shot 30 under par. Totally incredible. And whether or not this is because Brooks got him motivated, I like it. I hope that they end up having a rivalry, and hating each other because they used to be best friends. I don't know. They both used to be enemies of mine, so putting them against each other could only be fun. Dustin Johnson certainly gets it done and was lower owned. Okay, Kevin Kisner, back-to-back top fives for him. And along that same line is my fourth foursome fact from the week, as Kevin Kisner gets his own with back-to-back top fives. Harris English, the culmination of a really good restart with a bunch of top 25s. Everything clicked for him this week, coming just second to Dustin Johnson. But still, I'm sure he won't be too very upset with that, knowing that Dustin Johnson won at 30 under par. That's 30 under par. Incredible. Just truly incredible. Okay, let's go on to your average cut sweat segment, and there wasn't too many here. I mean, there were a couple, don't get me wrong. There's always going to be a couple, right? But let's start off at least with a couple of negative ones here. The worst one of the day by far was Max Homa. Max Homa comes to 18. He just needs par or better, right? He doesn't need anything serious. Puts the drive left, lays up to 120 yards, has 120 yards in, decides to hit it short into the bunker, hits a nice bunker shot to 8 feet, missed the 8-footer. And a 6 and a missed cut. That's a brutal one. Real brutal. Especially 18 if you were watching the golf throughout the week. You know that 18 didn't play all that hard, so making a bogey on a real tough way to miss the cut. Joel Damon, he needed a 4 on 18. Drove it left, put it up by the green, Had about 60 feet in, put it up to about 8 feet, missed the putt. Brutal Harold Varner, he doubled 17. He was one inside the line. He doubled 17 to go from 4 under to 2 under. He then comes to 18. I'm sorry, to go from 3 under to 1 under. He comes to 18. Now he needs an eagle to make the cut. He gets it to 10 feet. Missed the 10-footer, tapped in for birdie, and ended at 2 under. Cam Champ. This one hurt me so badly. He birdied. He bogeyed 1. Then he birdied 2, 3, 4, and 6 to get, so 4 straight or 4 or 5 to get to -2. So he just needs 1 birdie coming in. He's got a par 5 7th. He makes par. He puts it to 20 feet on 8. He makes par and misses a 30-footer on 9 to miss the cut. Tough one there for Cam Champ. And the last one, luckily, the last time for the next at least 2.5 weeks, I have to mention this guy's name, but it was Jordan Spieth. He missed a 15-footer and missed a 9-footer on the incoming holes. He had got it to 2 under coming to 15, but missed those 15-footer and 9-footer coming in. And then, of course, couldn't hole out for the bunker to extend his tournament for eagle. Jordan Spieth ended, I should say, his season, let alone tournament. So that is the Not Your Average Cut Sweat segment. Now we're going to roll right into our statistical review, see how the golfers were gaining strokes this week or what calculated. So off the tee, went to Jon Rahm, Dustin Johnson, Daniel Berger, Corey Connors, Brian Harman, Scotty Scheffler, Matt Wolff, Emiliano Grillo, Andrew Landry, Tiger Woods, Scott Piercy, Justin Rose, Louis Oosthuizen, and Xander Schauffele. So now we go into driving accuracy, and 1-2 on driving accuracy. Brian Harman and Andrew Landry both showed up in the top 10, so certainly was imperative to get in the fairway last week as well. But those were actually the only 2 guys that ended up in the top 10. We switch over to driving distance 1-2. Jon Rahm and Dustin Johnson were 1-2, and they were also 1-2 on the OTT. Strokes gained, so no surprise there. Also, other ones that showed up, Jason Kokrak, Matt Wolff, and looks like that's it. So maybe 2 on each of the sides there. So about 40 or 50% come from distance and accuracy, and obviously the other ones going to come from probably a mixture thereof. Okay, let's move on to our strokes gained on the approach in greens and regulation. Dustin Johnson led strokes gained on the approach and greens and regulation. Let's just get that out of the way quickly. Charlie Hoffman, Cam Smith, Mark Hubbard, Keegan Bradley, Cam Tringale, Rory McIlroy. That's at least good to see. Justin Rose, Russ Henley, Tyler Duncan, Robbie Shelton, Jason Kokrak, Adam Long, Scotty Scheffler, and Adam Schenk this week strokes gained on the approach. Match that up with greens and regulation. I already told you DJ is 1. Scotty Scheffler was 2. Webb Simpson, continuing his hot play, was 3. Charlie Hoffman, 4. Harris English, 5. Alex Noren, 6. Bubba Watson, Justin Rose, Paul Casey, Adam Scott, Kevin Kisner, Jon Rahm, Tyler Duncan, Mark Hubbard, and Siwoo Kim round out the top 10, all hitting at least 75% of their greens. We'll also have, I would say, about a 60% crossover between strokes gained on the approach and greens and regulation. All right, the last one we're going to do here is putting. Maverick McNeely, and remember, this week is top 70, which means everybody plays all 4 days, so take a look at some guys that have been putting well. I'll tell you, Maverick McNeely we know has been putting well. The next 2 guys, though, Tommy Fleetwood and Dan Berger, actually throw in Ian Poulter there too. Those 3 guys have been red hot with the putter. Dan Berger gets inside the top 10 because his ball striking's also been good, but Tommy Fleetwood's has been terrible. Ian Poulter's a little bit better this week. Definitely something to take an eye on to, though. Harry Higgs also putted well this week, as did Kevin Kisner, Danny Lee, Dustin Johnson, Alex Noren, Victor Hovland. Wow, how about that? Victor Hovland, Louis Oosthuizen, Bo Hostler, and Ryan Palmer rounding out the top guys in strokes gained putting. Putts for GIR goes to Dustin Johnson, Scotty Scheffler, Webb Simpson, Charlie Hoffman, Harris English, Alex Noren, Bubba Watson, Justin Rose, Paul Casey, Adam Scott, Kevin Kisner, Jon Rahm, and Tyler Duncan. Well, Jon Rahm not showing up in strokes gained putting, but showing up in putts per GIR. I'm going to guess he had probably a pretty good week on his approaches and off the tee, hitting a lot of shots close. Okay, let's go into our birdie review. Top birdie or better for last week. Dustin Johnson had 28. Unbelievable. Harris English had 25. Scotty Scheffler, Taylor Gooch, Keith Mitchell, Cam Davis, Victor Hovland had 24. Daniel Berger, Ryan Palmer, Harry Higgs, Ty Hatton, Robbie Shelton, Brian Harman, and Sebastian Munoz all had 23. Okay, so now we're going to head on to this week, and we have got the BMW Championship, and this now starts a stretch of golf where we've got 4 weeks leading up to the United States Open, one of the best and most fun tournaments of the year. We've got a 70-man field, a 30-man field, and then the primer for the U.S. Open out in California, a full field there, and then, of course, the United States Open, which is one of the fullest fields in golf. So it is a great time to join Awesemo Plus if you're not already a member. $8.95 for the week to join Ben and I and Alex and so much more. With that $8.95 subscription, you get Alex's top golfer tool, which had another big week last week. Alex's ownership projections, golfer projections, all of my premium data, which includes my model, which has strokes gained for like 2 years, DraftKings points, and so much more. So great time to join and step on the PGA DFS golf course today. All right, so let's turn our attention and we go to the BMW Championship played at Olympia Fields. The DFS preview this week. DraftKings already has some of their contest, I should say. Posted. They're going with an $888 for the top buy-in, $200K to first there, $25 for the $500,000 to first. No millionaire maker for a no cut. Still pretty good event. Pretty good size offering as well. Different price point on that $800. But if you're a fan of the $200 single entry, that is again $100K. It is played this year. It's played at Olympia Fields. Now, this is one of the one that has a rotating course at it, where it switches courses. Here, it's at Olympia Fields. We last saw it at the 2017 Women's PGA Championship, and before that, if you watch U.S. Amateur Golf, which I don't even know if it was on in 2015, we may not have seen it, but the last time the PGA Tour saw it was in 2003 for the United States Open. That year, the United States Open had played about par 70, 7,100 yards. They've added a couple hundred yards in length. It's now going to play a par 70, roughly 7,300 yards. In 2003, the fairways were very hard to hit. 53% of them were hit. However, for back then, the driving distance was notably higher, only 288 yards, which Bryson can do with a 6-iron now, it feels like. There were a lot of drivers hit. Also, the greens in regulation was below 60%. So you got to be a good scrambler here, it seems. I would suspect that number to come up a little bit this year. I don't think we're going to have U.S. Open style rough, although we'll probably have it pretty good, just not truly a U.S. Open, I wouldn't say. Don't quote me on that, of course, but with fairways being so hard to hit there back in 2003, I can't imagine they're that much easier to hit here. So I suspect the strokes gained around the green will come into play a little bit more. But Danielle Kang, who won the Women's PGA in 2017, seemed like that was a pretty low score for her. Now, granted, they played different golf courses and everything like that. I'm not in no way, shape, or form comparing the two, but I think they are going to be plenty of missed greens this week. So take a look at guys that are chipping and putting well. All right, so the last thing that I do on this pod, and this one is, like I said, only 14 minutes long because I don't really have to talk about the field. It's just the top 70 golfers that are in the FedEx Cup points list. And maybe, I guess, I can tell you a little bit about those players that you may not have known that just snuck in. I know that late in the day when I was watching there, Doc Redman was in. He is now out. He will not be playing this week. He was, I think he's number, just to give you exactly, Doc Redman was number 71. He was the bubble boy. Louis Oosthuizen moved all the way up to 70 with his good finish. Guys like Charles Howell, Max Homa, who was on the bubble, he gets in. Maverick McNeely gets in. Jason Kokrak, JT Poston, Paul Casey, Jim Herman, and even Robbie Shelton with another good finish. He was able to secure himself. He might have even slid into the top 10 there here on Sunday with a good round. Russell Henley, Matt Fitzpatrick, just a couple of guys around. Now, on the other side of things, looking on the outside, Doc Redman, like I said, was in most of the day. He loses by a couple of points. Sung Kang, Denny McCarthy, Troy Merritt, Phil Mickelson, Henrik Norlander, Charlie Hoffman, Xingjun Zhang, Sepp Straka, and Harold Varner III were the first guys out. Still, we'll have plenty of great status and play pretty much anywhere they want to on the PGA Tour next year, but their season for now is over. Okay, the last thing I do on this pod each and every week is give you my salary guesses. And while last week I had an okay week, I definitely did not have Rahm down at 10,000, but I think I've got a better handle on what they're going to do this week. I've got Justin Thomas coming in at 11,400. I suspect with the ownership not getting too low, but not getting too high, they'll stick with him at number one. Dustin Johnson after the massive win. And I mean, you could have cashed if you had him and one other or two other guys in the top 10 this week. He scored that many points. Just totally insane. Blew the field away. And if you didn't play him, didn't have any chance. 11.1K for him. DeChambeau after the miscut, 10.9. Rory's form still questionable, but I'm sure the odds makers will still love him, 10.7. Rahm closes that gap, though. Instead of 10K, he's coming in at 10.5. And Webb Simpson, another good start there at TPC Boston, where maybe the course wasn't a great fit for him. But regardless, he gets it done with another great finish. So I suspect Webb Simpson's going to be pushed up to the 10.2K range. All right, so thanks for everybody for joining the Opening Tee Pod. Next week, we've only got 30 players in the field, so I'm likely going to just do one podcast total next week where I'll kind of like go over the field and break it down in terms of fit and form, in terms of the against the grain pod that I normally do each and every week, which I still will this week, so I want to, I guess, take it aside. You'll still get the Fit and the Form podcast tomorrow, or depending on when you listen to this, I put it out on Tuesday evenings. And then, of course, the Against the Grain, Reading the Grain podcast for the ownership, mainly for DraftKings, but across the PGA DFS slates. That'll be on Wednesday morning. So, until then, until next time, everybody, if you are not listening to this before Monday at 2:30 or 2 o'clock, check out the PGA DFS First Look Show. Myself, Jeff Ulrich, and Sal Vitri. And then, of course, on Tuesday, Timothy Frank and Ben Raza get on the mic at 2:30, going over their strategy for the slate. And then Ben and I wrap it all up and give you all the up-to-date information on Wednesday night at 8:30 on our Live Before Lock show. So until next time, everybody, thank you for coming by the Opening Tee Podcast, and we will see you on the other side. Cheers.